what's happening, plebs? We're here at Euros 2016, and this is our boy Joshua Schmidt, who just got top 16 as a pro at the Euros. So we're here with your Pendulum deck. Yep. So why did you decide on this build or this deck even altogether?
I think Pendulum is the only deck that can consistently go through a field of Monarchs and BA, which is like the most played decks. And it's also the only deck that can realistically win going second, unless you're retarded and play Ariadne. Shout out to Norman and Chemist and Ali. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good deck. It's kind of unusual for me. Usually I just play what is like what everyone thinks to be the best deck, but this time in like Monarch and BA format, it's a little bit different. I lost in top 16. The whole match had 2 turns. Like game 1 I died in 1 turn, game 2 I died in 1 turn, so that feels a bit...
It's a bit weird.
Weird. I mean, yeah, like it's rough to say, but like it feels really bad. It's like I think that's the roughest loss I've ever had, because ever since like 2012, the only thing I wanted to do in this game was go back to Worlds, and like it just got destroyed in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Oh well. But someone special helped you with the deck, right?
Well, no, actually not. We'll get to that later when I... Yeah.
Okay, cool, let's see your list.
So like the reason to play the deck is this card. Like it beats BA alone, and it's also really good against Monarchs. You also play 3 of that. Just get bricky from time to time, but the most important thing is that you do open up this, so you just max out on that. Yeah. 3 odd dice. I run 3 because it is like the main damage dealer of the deck. It's one of the cards that you put the pressure on your opponent with that, and like the Unicorn pushes, and you always want to resolve it first turn, because if you resolve that, it's like a lot of pressure on your opponent. You're going to get the monkey board out of your deck, or the Bunruku if you don't have it yet. And like the 2500 beater in the extra deck is just such a good resource. So when you have it, you can just use your searches on something else. And if you don't have it, you want to search it anyway. So I figured 3 was a good way to go. And yeah, so yeah, it's really good. 3 Abductor, because you auto win if you open Abductor, and Terraforming is like really good. You don't have many other ways to trigger Abductor. Like if you don't have Terraforming or Sky Ares, you usually won't be able to search with it for Pendulum monster. You can still search Veiler. I do run 1 Veiler, so sometimes when I don't have Terraforming or Iris, I can still grab the Veiler. But like overall, it's just so amazing. If you open, I've never lost a game where I opened Abductor with Iris or Terraforming. I do run 3 Pendulum Sorcerer. I'm aware that like most people are not playing this in like Magician, Kareen versions and that, but I just think it's like retarded not to play this card. It's the best Pendulum synergy card. It has a very good scale effect for the late game. I don't have that many targets. I'll show you in a minute, but it's like you resolve it once first turn, and afterwards you set up and it's all fine. Yeah, it's a waste not to play the card. 2 Unicorn. I was playing 3, but I'll explain in a minute why I went down to 2. 1 Phoenix for the Sky Ares, then the Joker and the Monkey board. I play Lizard Draw because Lizard Draw is like the only, like you need it in order to search Veiler with Abductor, because when you summon Sorcerer and Abductor together, what you want to do is you want to pop both your scales, get like Monkey Board and Lizard Draw, and then Monkey Board is 1 spell, Lizard Draw is the second one, Lizard Draw destroys itself, and then you just put another scale, like preferably Odd Eyes there for your end, and this is the 3rd counter for the Veiler search. So I was considering dropping Veiler, and then I would have dropped that too. But it's really helpful because you don't always have Kareen, and the Veiler can be really strong. 2 Eccentric, like I love the card. I would have loved to play 3, but it does conflict with all your other high scales. Like you're going first, you draw Eccentric and this. One of them is basically useless. It doesn't let you summon Odd Eyes. It doesn't let you summon Apex. So yeah, 2 was just fine because you can Odd Eyes search it. Like you Odd Eyes search it a lot when you're already set up. Then I decided to play this little engine just because I was like stuck with the deck at a point where I really liked it, and I was pretty sure it was the best deck, but it only had like 38 cards, 37 cards that I liked, and I just couldn't find something that was good for consistency. Like the only way I lost games was if I just brick, basically. That was like the only, even though it was a very little amount of games where I bricked, like I wanted to have more pendulums. And so I was like, okay, how about if I find more high scales? And there's no other good high scale in the game, 8 scale specifically, next to Unicore than this. And so I went down on 2 Unicorns and added these, and when you play 2 of these, it's a waste not to play these, simply because this is like, it works with every Performer Pile is a free plus, and this is also like decent. And because you play Sorcerer in this deck, which usually you don't in other Magician builds, whenever you don't use your normal summon, you just summon Sorcerer, and then you still have the Joker for normal summon. So whenever you draw one, you just get the second one, or you auto search this thing when you draw one of these. So like they're really good, and this is actually a good 8 scale to pop with Sorcerer. While if you pop Unicorn, it doesn't do anything. This is only level 1, so they were really good throughout the tournament. I would play these again. Also not playing Pendulum Call, that cut shit. So yeah, the Veiler. It's a good card this format, but you don't want to play multiples just because it's nothing you like want to draw. You wouldn't play it if it wasn't for Abductor, but Abductor plus Sorcerer does come up quite a bit. 1 Apex, shoutouts to Glasgow Yu-Gi-Oh!
One of random Apex.
No, like like everyone was telling me play 2 or 3 of this, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. And I kind of agreed on it. I was like, if you want to play the card, you want to open it and stuff. And I felt like I could cut it. I actually felt like it was not necessary for the deck to work, and it's not. Like if you don't draw it, it doesn't matter. So I cut it for testing, and I was stuck on 39 cards. I had 39 cards, these right here, which I was really happy with. And I was like, what can I play? So I thought, is there anything for consistency? Is there anything else I can play? And I just couldn't think of anything. There was nothing I liked. So I added this as a 40th card, just because like if you draw it, it might win you the game. If you don't draw it, you're not like dependent on it. And it did work out pretty well. I drew it like once maybe, and it won me like a lot of games where I drew it. So I think it's fine. You can try to fit more, but it might hurt consistency as well. I'm not sure if it's worth to try. You would have to like forcefully cut anything else. I'm not sure if that's worth. So I liked it. Hashtag 300. Terraformings and Sky Iris, 3 each. Best card. It really is the best card to open with. It makes every hand kind of live unless you have like no pendulums. It auto wins with Abductor. I do not play any other targets in the main for Terraforming, simply because you always want to keep Iris around because it's also like so valuable going into second turn. And
you were even playing Planet Defender at one point, weren't you?
I was playing Planet Defender, which is Planet Pathfinder, which is like a level 4, which you have to normal summon, then you contribute it to search this field spell. So it's like Terraforming as a normal summon. That's how good this card is. I was testing that card, but 6 is enough. Like I didn't see it once in top 16. I drew 3 copies of Terraforming once. Once I opened it once, and then I drew into the 3rd one in another game. But like yeah.
Oh, again, how many did you draw? 4.
When the time I opened 3, I drew into another Terraforming the next turn, so it technically counts as 4. And I would have won that game if I didn't draw Upstart. Like I couldn't kill him because of Upstart. I could do like 8,200 damage. But like yeah, these are super important. I don't think you need a second one because you don't want to overwrite your Iris anyways. Like Village and Necro Valley are good cards this format against certain decks, but you don't know what you're playing game 1, so it's not you never know if it's worth to Terraforming into one of these and just get rid of the Iris, because you risk losing the game if they just get rid of your skills, you know, stuff like that. And drawing multiples of these is not that bad because you play Sorcerer in this deck, so like you draw 2, you just go set Terraforming and pop into Sorcerer, it's fine. I decided to main deck 2 MST simply because the trend was going heavily towards Domain Monarchs, and VAPK was like suddenly out of nowhere everyone was maining at least 2 Fragrance and at least 2 Strikes. And like Eccentric doesn't do anything against Fragrance, and is kind of vulnerable against Kuraz, against Monarchs and stuff, and it's just like an overall good card. It's good against Pendulum, it's good against Domain Monarchs, it's good against BA because everyone's playing traps in that now. Because it is better to play traps in Burning Abyss, so yeah, I was expecting that. It's good against Demai, it's good against Cosmo. It sucks against XYZ Monarch. That's like the only matchup where it's like pretty bad unless you're lucky enough to hit like a crucial Domain or a Brilliant Fusion. But yeah, overall, and it combos with Abductor. I did that like twice, where you open Abductor but no other spell. So you just go Abductor, Pendulum Scale, 1 counter, MST your own scale, activate a high scale, and then search. Which it seems terrible if you compare it to like the Iris combo with Abductor, but it still is a relatively decent turn 1 if you get a Kareen and a Sorcerer together, stuff like that. Audice Fusion is like super strong. I was about to cut it because I opened it a little bit too often in my, like, well, it turns out to be like a really, really good card. Yeah, it's like really, really good. I think I resolved it like from the actual deck like once or twice. I resolved it way more often just like
searching it. Like,
especially because this deck has Pendulum Sorcerer. It's like so easy to get, like, if you already have Scales and Sorcerer, you just go Iris and you pop and just grab this, and then you Pendulum Summon Sorcerer, you just grab Joker and Audice Performer Pile and just normal summon Joker, and then use this to fuse the Joker or the Sorcerer into one from your hand. It's like this. And Vortex is super good. So if you ever have like a combination of like Vortex together with like Apex, Kareen, or Veiler, or Dweller against certain matchups, it's like super solid. This thing and this one Ignite Reload. It's a card I really like simply because like drawing multiples of any scale is like kind of weird, and it's basically like a little mulligan. You know, you look at your hand, you're like, okay, I have 2 of this scale, I can replace it and try to get to Iris, to Sorcerer, to Kareen, because those are the most important cards to come up with. And you play enough Pendulums to justify the risk, because you're usually gonna draw into like enough Pendulums. And it can conflict. You can be unlucky if you draw into Upstart or Lizard Draw, because you cannot draw cards for the rest of the turn, and it's really risky against Monarchs. You always side it out against Monarchs because after you play it, they can just Kura's you and you can't draw cards. I actually activated it 0 times. I drew it once, and I didn't activate it there because I was dead. So yeah, there's 40 cards. I really liked it. I think Traps is just like, running Traps is just bad, because the whole Ariadne trap package, the only problem is like, it's only good when you go first and when you already have Sorcerer or Iris.
And when you win the dice roll, of which how many
when you go first. I won, today I won,
well, overall.
Overall I won 5 or 6. Out of 14.
Not very good.
Yeah, like I said, traps are only good going first, which is not a problem of this deck. I lost 1 game we're going first. No, 2 actually, both in top 16. Every other game I went first, I won, I think, because the deck's just so strong. You resolve Sorcerer first, you put Kareen out, you resolve Audice, you have everything. The deck's really strong going first.
Connect, I guess.
Yes. This boy is really good. Never made this. Theoretically, you can summon it off of Absolute if it dies, but you mainly send it for Audice Fusion.
Veiler.
Yeah, it never happened. This thing also theoretically comes off of Absolute, but mainly you have to play it because it's a Pendulum for Audice Fusion. Absolute, really good card, was really, really good in testing. I never summoned it this tournament, but like it's really strong against Monarchs because you make it like, because I play Pit very often, I have like Absolute and Pit, so you just make this, you attack with something small, negate the attack with this by detaching Audice, you bring it back, and then you double kill Ether and bring out this, and then you bounce the Monarch that they summoned with Ether. So you have 5,000 damage right here with this and the other Audice, and you have a negation here, so it's like, it's really good against Monarchs. This thing is one of those cards that is very situational, but whenever you summon it, it usually wins you the game. And it's like whenever you're like 500 damage short, you know, just like put this, or even 1,000. Some decks can't work with like 2 activations. It's basically the cowboy of this deck. I made it once against BA, who was at 1,000 life, and she couldn't do it. Like, how does BA get rid of this without activating 2 cards? So big guy, never made it. But it's one of the best rank 7s. Utopia Beyond is insane against Cosmo. It's like one of the easiest way to win the game. It's just like summoning this, reducing your monster to 0, attack with Audice with 5,000 damage, even without any push. Because Audice does double damage, and if you have any sort of unicorn push, that's 8,000 on the spot, like super good card in this deck. 2 Dwellers, because like the deck's not very rank 4 focused, but Dweller is one of those cards that I do like to make blind turn 1 against some matchups with certain hands where I feel like maybe I don't have a strong enough defense. So I just summon Dweller, and if it turns out to be Burning Abyss, they're usually going to run over again. I played this over a few situational cards where, like Direwolf and stuff, you could have played it, but because the deck's not very rank 4, and you're never going to make Direwolf turn 1, so it's kind of weird. This is another one of those cards, Dark Rebellion, that you're not going to make it often, but if you make it, it's usually for game because you're going to reduce something to a very low amount of attack, and you attack it with odd ice for double damage, and this thing is also huge, so like the same as this is like really good against Ether and another Monarch because you can reduce 1 to 1400. This one beats the big Monarch, and odd ice goes over the small Monarch, it's like really strong. This guy is also insane against certain matchups. Like against BA, if they have a Dante on board, because they couldn't make Beatrice, you just turn it to attack, it's 400 attack, and odd ice with Phoenix push already is over 8000. Like if you have the Unicorn push with Phoenix on board, that's over 8000 damage. You can hit Prime with it, also down to 400. This is the card where I mentioned if I didn't have Upstart, I would have been able to beat the Monarch guy when I had 4 copies of Sky Iris. I would have been able to beat him because he left the Prime there. Because I could have done 8,200 because of that, but yeah, he had 9,000, so like fuck me. Castell is the card that like you always make this over Direwolf anyway, so no Direwolf needed. Majester is like good generic rank 4 for turn 1. Well, not generic, but in this deck it is. Whenever you know it's not something you want to make Dweller against, like Pendulum or anything, you just make this and just get more resources. This thing for any sort of grind games where, you know, because you play the Lizard Draw. Without Lizard Draw I think I wouldn't play another rank 3, but like the Lizard Draw is just a free level 3 in the extra deck. And being able to pop like Sky Iris in main 2 in the mirrors is solid. Being able to force out strikes against any deck. I made it twice in like grindy games, it was decent. I was not going to play it, I was going to play Breaksword over it, because Breaksword, you can make OTKs with Breaksword because like you Pendulum summon and you don't need Iris anymore for the turn, so you pop Iris into Monster, but this turned out to be better I think. And then one Totem Bird because we're playing 3 Bunbuku because Kirin is that important. So whenever you draw a Bunbuku and you already have Kirin, because that does happen if you play 6 copies of it total, you just can grab a second Bunbuku and make Totem Bird, which is like decent in some matchups. I made it like twice. So yeah, actually it's pretty solid. I didn't miss anything either. The side deck is 3 Maxi. BA is already a really good matchup, but when you go second, the card is insane against BA. It's like you can take out whatever you want. Like this is always going to get you 1 or 2 cards, so it's actually good for consistency, which is why I really like it. It gets you to your MSTs and stuff, because you can only play so many MSTs without clogging.
Shoutouts to Yaksha.
Shoutouts to Yaksha. We're going to play Yaksha, yeah. 2 Ghost Ogre. I should have played 3, I think. It's insane. Like, people underestimated, I think, how big Pendulum was going to be, because I played 4 or 5 Pendulums total. And like this card is absolutely nuts against everything that relies on Sky Iris. Abductor, Monkey Board, stuff like that. Like, really, really good card. I was playing 3, but I cut 1 for another card, which is also good against Pendulum, but like, 2 Kaiko is amazing against Monarchs. It's like one of those cards that whenever you draw it with a decent hand, it just makes the game so much easier, because it eliminates Stormforth, Prime, and Ether, which is like everything you need to worry about. You're not going to be hardcore and play 3 in my opinion, because it is not good with every hand. Sometimes you need to normal summon your Bunbuku, sometimes you need to normal summon your Joker, and sometimes they use Ether before you Pendulum summon because they want to pop like your scale or something, I don't know. It's a really good card though. Like, I don't think there's a reason to play 3 because you don't need to necessarily open it. Like whenever you draw it and you have scales, you're just gonna win. Denko, 2 Denkos. Mainly for all demise decks. I'm not siding it against Burning Abyss because they have Farfar, I think it's not worth. But like it's really good against every sort of demise deck because it eliminates Strike. It doesn't eliminate Fragrance, which is a huge deal, which is why I didn't play 3. It's not as auto-win if you have to rely on them not having Fragrance. So yeah, here's the card that I played instead of a 3rd Ghost Ogre. I played 2 Spell Shattering Arrows, which it was decent, but I think I should have played 3 of the Ghost Ogre and maybe one of this or a Pendulum Storm. Because like this is only really good going first, well, this is really good going second, and going second is definitely more of an issue. I do side these also against Domain Monarch because they're just better than MST against Domain Monarch actually, because they kill Domain and they kill return and they deal damage, so they're definitely decent, but I would have preferred 3 of this and 1 of this for sure. 2 Twin Twisters is a card that I initially didn't like because like it is one of those cards that you side because you cannot side more than, you cannot play more than 3 MSTs. Like I would play 4, 5, 6 MSTs if I could because of Fragrance, but you can't. So you played. I didn't like this because BA was one of those decks that typically it had 1 face down. It was that 1 Fragrance that they were siding. You know, they're playing 3 Fragrance and nothing else usually. But now that the trend for the deck is pretty much maining strikes and Fragrance already and siding to 3 copies of each, and playing Fog Blades, you're typically you're gonna face 2 back row. Like I think the average might even be 2, considering that they can search Fog Blade a lot of the time. So I actually really like this card, and I ended up cutting Decrease from the side simply because I felt like this was also good against Demise, and BA is just more of a problem. 3rd MST, yeah, and then this card which won me like 4 games against Monarchs. It's insane. Like a lot of people are suggesting maining it. I just don't think it's worth, because you have to know the matchup to go for it. Like it's such an overcommitment against a matchup you don't know, that I think you should be siding it. If you know you go first against Monarchs, and yeah, then you have to play. It's like super good, like 4 games straight where you open Terraforming and go Kirin or Apex, and just this game's over. So yeah.
All right, awesome. So, any final comments about your matches?
I mean, alright, so Swiss, first day I went 8-0, winning 3 dice rolls, which like, that's why I don't play traps, kids. So, round 9 I lost to Head Judge OTK, because like, this was game 3 against BA, and my opponent had a Beatrice and a Dante, and he activated Dark Hole and chained Beatrice, detaching Graph, which makes Graph an early trigger because he's detached as a cost before the chain's resolving. So after all of that resolves, you have to make Graph Chainlink 1 if you want to activate it. So he detaches the Graph, sends the Barbar, Chainlink 1, Dark Hole resolves, destroys the Dante, and he goes like, looks at his graveyard and goes like, okay, Dante, target this. And then he goes like Graph, and I'm like, you cannot use Graph because you already activated Dante, and Graph would have been Chainlink 1. So he calls a Judge, and Judge says, yeah, it's correct, you cannot use Graph anymore. He appeals to the Head Judge, and the Head Judge says, no, he can choose however he wants, like early triggers don't exist. Which I do not understand how someone like that can Head Judge an event full of BAs, but okay. I would have won that game, but I mean, I would have won that game because my opponent made a mistake, but nonetheless. Then then I lost the last round to Demise Cosmo, didn't really matter. He got like Demise turn 1 2 times, followed up by discarding Dark Destroyer and having 4 face downs, including Call and Cosmojo both times, which is alright. Still top 64 I beat Monarchs 2-0. Top 32 I beat BA 2-0 in the feature match, which like BA is like the gift if you don't like break or run into Fragrance. And then top 16 is like, it was unreal. It's like I opened Kirin and MST game 1, and I got FTK'd by Eccentric, Sky Iris, Face Off, which hit Lecter to make my Kirin useless. Pendulum Sorcerer, which he popped the Sky Iris to grab Odd Eyes Fusion, and 2 more level 4 Pendulums. So like, have fun. And then game 2 I opened. That's
a good card. That's a good card.
So game 2 I opened this. So I'm like, yo, nice.
At least you got the unicorn.
Yeah, twice. So I have a feeling that I die if I just set this, because
you're cheering for the unicorn.
So I feel like if I just set this, because he's playing so many level 4s in the Draco deck, if I just hit 2 level 4s maybe he could still kill me. So I feel like I have to go for this. He typhoons this, I play another one, he's like, oh, so lucky. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so lucky.
So I go like this, and he goes eccentric, I'm like, of course, and I die. So, must be nice, but yeah.
Alright, final shoutouts?
Shoutouts to my team, shoutouts to Loli. He believed in me, I disappointed him, I'm sorry. Draw well popper wasn't enough. It was not enough. Yeah, I mean, we'll be back next year.